the plan for the day is, first of all, my name is John Speraw. It's great to see everybody. Thank you so much for being here at Boys Junior National Championships. Certainly understand the competitive arena in which we work, and we compete against AAU, and there's this battle that's going on for the boys ecosystem and all the clubs, and we appreciate you being here, like a lot. We would love to bring everybody under the same umbrella. We're working on it. I don't know if any of you were on the boys town hall that we gave at the end of, was that March? April? Seems like a year ago already. And I'm going to bring that up. We're going to talk about that a little bit, just do a really brief overview and kind of give you an opportunity to ask some questions, anything, whether it's about coaching related or the new job or anything related to boys and what we're doing for the future in USAV. Happy to answer any of your questions. So what I thought you might like to do is watch a little volleyball and watch some video. Because usually when I do the coaching clinics and stuff like that, like usually it's that's the home run, right? The best part for me is in the last 7 months, I've hardly watched any volleyball, so I'm as enthusiastic about watching volleyball as you guys are. In fact, last night I was in the offices in Anaheim, and Nate Go is our statistician. And I told him yesterday, Nate, I need clips. And so he came into the office. Everybody usually wants to talk about serve receive, so we'll talk about passing. And I'll just go through these clips. And so as we're talking about passing, I know a lot of times we talk about trying to pass the ball in the midline or move your feet or do all these things. Not a reality in the men's game. Okay, so we have to spend most of our time talking about how you pass the ball outside of your midline with high pace velocity. What is the systems involved there? How do you make decisions? And what is the technical aspects of how you train this? This one is a perfect example. There's not a lot of technique here, right? He's literally going all the way to the floor and falling down. So you would love to talk about hips and angles. There's times when a ball is buried into a seam and it's survival. It's okay. You can call your wife back there. Okay. So it's survival and it's keeping the ball off of the net. And it turns out this is an amazing pass by Champ. Okay, this is somebody bombs the ball in the seam and he puts it right on the setter's head. The other thing that we have to do is, and we'll talk about it in a second, is we have to talk about, this makes me a little concerned because they're dead even. One of the things that we start talking a lot about is how you make decisions on a ball that's 50-50 seam, and velocity is really hard to do so. So we've started over the years spending all of our time talking about crossing, meaning that if it's a ball going 50-50, both players go. So when you see two national team athletes both stare at each other when the ball hits the ground, that's a problem. That's something that we have to address. If both guys go and something gets shanked or whatever, that's a different conversation, but we want to make sure both go. Usually you have the area 6 player step back just a little bit so they can be behind. You're going to see some clips on that in a second. So this is a nice play by Dago. We're going to see this again. Nice play by Champ. Totally break apart, still makes a play. Okay, so Dago also goes to the floor here and makes this play. Look at that, another nice pass. Anything inside the 10-foot line on a hard-driven jump serve is considered pretty good. And so this one's at 8 feet. The reason why USA has been so successful over the last number of years is a couple key reasons. One is Matt Anderson is an opposite who can pass. So what we've seen, the typical old coaching adage is less seams is better. That's not true anymore. The statistics are pretty clear that the smaller the seams, the better, because with high pace velocity, you have to be able to cover that ground. So with Maddie being in there and being able to receive with 4 instead of 3 against high level velocity jump serves has been a game changer for USA. And then you've seen other teams do that. So Italy went with Zaitsev, who's an outside hitter. Poland goes with Kurek, who's an outside hitter. So all of a sudden other teams are starting to play with opposites who can step in and pass. Maddie, of course, is the best at that. And that's been a real advantage. The other one is Micah Christiansen, the best setter in the world from setting from 10 feet, setting quick from 10 feet. So the defensive systems that are in place are based on quality of pass. And so when the ball is off the net, and a lot of teams can't set quick from 7-8 feet, even at this level, you'll see that quite a bit. It makes your defensive systems much easier to execute. With Micah Christiansen being able to set quick from 10 feet, sometimes 11 feet, it forces teams into their in-system defensive system for longer periods of time. It's a huge advantage for Team USA. So here you have a ball being set from, I guess that was 5 feet, so that's not too bad. Okay, we're gonna get some more here. We're gonna have more to talk about. So you can see Jacob right here, he goes behind. He first steps behind a little bit. So watch Jacob right here. He actually, his right foot here, see how he kind of jab steps? He's going behind. He's actually covering behind. Let's see this. See that? You can see it again, right? So you can see that the area 6 passer, okay, so the area 6 passer, this is Jordan Ewart from Stanford. Watch how he kind of goes behind Champ, okay? So Champ, and the Champ does a great job. His right hip goes back in an ideal world, okay? As you're teaching passing, you would like to open up for space. We've gotten away from teaching midline entirely. We actually teach off to the side. Karch says choose a side. I've stolen that. So you're choosing a side so your hip goes back so you have plenty of room to cushion. That's an ideal, always to the side, never to the midline. Midline, you go here, whoop, you're jammed up. True on floats, for sure on floats, you never want to take it on the midline. Ball moves a lot, especially with the Acosta ball. It's got the dimples. You want to choose a side. And then if the ball gets high, you're all with your legs, everything's simple. Ball gets high when you're coming in midline, you get all jammed up. So you can see Champ does a real good job with his hip here, shoulders down. The spacing, if you choose a side and keep your hip level or keep your head level, it solves a ton of technical issues with passing. Those are two of my really important keys. Let's see what happens here. See there, see there's Coop, a well-trained Bruin. All right. Pretty soon I'll be making some SC jokes, those still land. Okay, so watch Coop right here. He's gonna go right behind, both into the seam, ball on, and then Rowan, another Bruin, setting quick from maybe 9 feet. What happened here? Okay, hold on, I wanna go back to that one. Coop looked a little jammed up on this one, to be quite honest. Okay, I'll tell you the first thing I see here is they're not setting up in a proper serve receive formation for a 5-to-5 flow. This serve, 5-to-5, is one of the more challenging serve receive issues you see. In fact, you'll see, because of that, you see a lot of teams doing it. Iran started doing this really effectively. Iran started doing this in like 14 and 15, where they would have their guys start here and actually jump out and hit so extreme, and what happens is they're going for the last meter right in here. This is like the death zone right in here on a 5-to-5 flip. What happens is it gets into the seam, and these guys don't know how to handle that ball right there. What we've learned over the years is you shift in another half step. Briggs his right foot should be where his left foot is. Cooper can be okay in that situation, but Briggs has to be a half step over. You never want to be, this makes me nervous. I'm starting to get the feelings back from coaching. It's been a little while. I'm like, okay, this is not great. He actually, so right there, he kind of shuffled into it, right? Right there is where you want to be on a 5-to-5 float. This is how it should look, just like this and like that. So he goes behind. He's taking it in his midline. He's going to get a little jammed up here, but it works out okay. See how close his platform got to his body? Nice pick. We're going to talk about picks in a second. Look at that cross. See that cross? So they're both there. Look at that. Perfect. I mean, that's really great. Look how extended he is in that seam, Cooper, in Area 5. Really nice pass and cross. And stick it to 7 feet, set Jendrick. Perfect. This is interesting. Why do you think the libero is doing what he's doing here on a 5-to-5 flow? If you've been watching, they're actually targeting Coop. So he probably isn't a primary 5-to-5. Champ is the better passer. So they've actually, because they've been targeting Coop, Coop is what row? They're in row 1, interesting. So that might have something to do with it, I don't know. But so they've shifted this way to protect Coop. He's front row. They've probably served down the line a little bit. Here they don't, but they've obviously are trying to protect Cooper a little bit. He kind of breaks apart. He got caught high right there. Oh, welcome to international volleyball. Okay. See, that was an interesting pass. Watch Champ here, okay? So you're going to watch Champ, and he's going to take it to the side, and you see this a lot. He's actually going to jump and be sideways when he passes that ball. Great pass. All the space in the world, okay? So you see Eric showed you do that a lot. You'll see guys as the ball will come with a hard-driven jump serve. I've seen Eric take a ball, hard-driven jump serve, pass it like this and spin all the way around. Okay, he's just giving himself space to cushion. Champ does the same thing. Watch him here. See that? He actually ends up sideways, diming it, Jendrick into the seam. Yeah, I don't have much to say about that. Good Vic. Actually, it's a middle, not a bit. We'll talk about that in a second. Really? So on this one, listen, that last one, guy rips the ball, lefty, take it off the net. You just don't, you're trying, all you're doing sometimes when you're in those situations, sometimes you're in a timeout, guys buried a ball a couple different times. Your timeout is just keep it off the net. Okay, you're gonna dig this thing off the net, you're not trying to get quick involved, you just wanna take it off the net. So that's what happened. Any questions about passing at all? Yeah.
So when you're talking about the crossing,
yeah,
when you have your libero in the seam of your front row outside,
yeah,
would you rather have your libero take the ball even in the crossing system, or is it just too high velocity for that to like really come into?
There's some nuance there. Okay, so you're a coach, you know more about how good that passer is. If those passers are fairly close, you would want them to cross for sure. Now, usually the area 6 guy would be behind, but maybe your libero is so significantly better, you want to push him out. And you have room to kind of navigate between quality of passers. At the end of the day, you're seeing this a lot now too, because the rules have changed. Did you know that they can now move around on the toss of the serve instead of waiting for contact? So now they're doing all kinds of things. Watch VNL on Volleyball World TV. They're now, the libero's all the way over in some rotations, and he's running over into area 6 to pass. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So that, anyways, the bottom line is you as a coach have some room to navigate and move things around. You want your best passer to take as many balls as you can, right? So, but theoretically, you would like them both to go. Now, our decision has often been, do you really want area 6 to go if he's your back row outside hitter and he's on the Vic? Right? Like, do you want to commit him out of the route? And the answer is yes, because you absolutely need to have a good pass. You don't want to miss. Okay? And these guys are athletic enough where they can kind of go and still hit the Vic. I've seen some pretty amazing swings, especially from Cooper. He's really athletic.
Any tricks for like, hey, when you're playing it off to the side or like tilting your platform?
Yeah, that's
a lot of my younger ones though.
Yeah, yeah. When I'm doing coaching clinics for kids, I say see the ball early, choose a side, head level, and finish. Okay, those are my 4. And as you're going through, you don't need to cue that as much because you're like, hey, let's just work on this. And a lot of times they do this, the ball goes that way. There's actually a fairly high correlation to self-correction. It doesn't take a lot to sometimes I do say drop your inside shoulder. Okay, just create the angle, drop that inside shoulder. That's probably what I would say. But the one that I see a lot is breaking apart, so finish is really helpful. Choose a side, super helpful. And head level solves so many problems. Because if you think about all the times people get jammed up and do all this stuff, if you say keep your head level, choose a side, whoop, all the spacing just naturally happens, hip naturally happens. You don't have to see, they talk about proximal versus distal feedback. Proximal is close, like saying, hey, keep your hip back. So your brain is thinking about what's going on here. It's an internal thought process. Versus proximal, which is nearby. So you're trying to keep it external. Targets. If you ever want to change an arm swing, instead of saying, say you want to keep your your wrist below your shoulder as you draw back, okay? Because the whole high elbow thing's out, right? I don't know if you do that or not, don't do that. So you don't want to do this anymore because it's too much stress on the shoulder. Well, vast majority of elite level, I think 70-something% of elite level outside hitters are drawn real low. Like it's way down here, okay? So we're now teaching this. My daughter's 9 years old, I'm teaching her how to play. 100% of the coaches have said, elbow up. And we talk about this all the time. And I don't want to be that dad, but I'm like, elbow down. Okay, so she knows elbow stays down, wrist below the elbow. She knows all that stuff. So she's like this. She's going to be fine. Okay, but we got in an argument the other day because she was at a clinic and the coach was like, elbow up. And she's like, my dad told me not to put my, swear to God, it's a true story, happened yesterday. My dad told me not to put my elbow up. And it led into like, oh, who's your dad? So anyways, I digress. If you want to change that, instead of saying keep your wrist, below your shoulder, you wrap tape around it, okay, and say keep the tape below your shoulder. It's crazy, but it shifts from a proximal to a distal. Okay, so you internal versus external. When you say keep your head level, it's like almost like a target. They don't think about it. So instead of saying, hey, keep your hip back or don't bring your platform in, just say keep your head level. It's like the biggest solution to passing of all time. It's the most important cue. Yeah.
Maybe not at the international level, but I noticed a few years ago for the collegiate level, UC Santa Barbara was passing a lot with their hands.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on passing with hands? I mean,
yes, most effective thing you need to do for your passers is kind of what their skill set is. I think across the board, this is a generality. Receiving with hands is more effective. Okay, so this is on floats. Now there are some players that do a better job with their platform than others. Taylor Sander was an example. He did not like taking it with his hands. So he was better with his platform on the float. I like that because then it kept him further back into the big route. So if you have skill sets that allow you to do that, that would be my personal preference. But at the end of the day, passing wins championships, and you got to stick that pass. And the float, especially with this ball, is something else. So you've seen most of the international world commit to just taking floaters with hands. Some teams are really aggressive. Poland, Iran, real aggressive with hands. 11-foot line, chucking things up. Yeah. Any other questions on passing?
I got one. What are your thoughts on spacing? Especially, I know you touched on the four-man receiving.
Yeah.
You've got a high school team and no Matt Anderson.
Yeah. You don't have Matt Anderson? Oh, that's a bummer.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
So like when I grew up, when I was taught outside of, right, go to the sidelines
Yeah.
and finish into the court.
Yeah.
I think like at the high school levels or even like in the middle school levels, you're not seeing a 70-mile-an-hour.
No, you're not.
So like, what are your thoughts on that in terms of kind of bringing it down to like the high school level?
Yeah, I think that's really good. You do see that with teams at this level, outside in.
Yeah.
See, Argentina does that quite a bit. They're super wide, really good passing team, right? I mean, they're just really good. They start wide and come in on floaters, kind of force you to do that. I think the spacing really comes down to the quality of passers and your best passer taking as much court. There's no hard and fast rule here. I could tell you about my thoughts on cues and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, your job as a coach is to understand the skill set of your players and build systems around that, right? And there's no hard defined answer for that. That's up to you to kind of make that determination. Okay. Anything else on passing? Okay. Now, this is interesting even for your high school players. This is real hard, but it is where the game is today. I'm going to show you. So that one was just an okay one. Nice swing though. Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about this in a second too, but Champlin gets in a really difficult position, and he is just intentionally chipping this ball into the block with the intention of getting it back. Okay. So right here, that's pretty expensive. So first of all, right here is Gabby's setting this ball from over here. He's not supposed to set this to the pin. We're going to talk about this in a second. Okay. He's supposed to let Champlin go outside in. This ball is supposed to be set somewhere in here. That's the system that we train. I'll talk more about it. So Champ, all of a sudden, he sets this ball all the way across. And so Champ is pretty compromised here. And then you see Shane Holloway, unfortunately, he just got hurt. On these plays, not only are we teaching our hitters to recycle the ball, we're also teaching everybody specific systems of where to stand in hitter coverage. On this play, the middle is supposed to be on the 10-foot line. And the libero is supposed to go tight for it to be the recycle guy. Okay? Shane doesn't know this, he's new. Okay, probably doesn't know this yet. Cooper, in an ideal world, stays deep. So why do you want your middle there, and why do you want your outside hitter here? Because you're trying to recycle the ball, get the ball back, and have hitters ready to go attack. So you're actually setting up not only the recycle, but the transition offense. Okay? Now what happens typically is middles go run in there, they're your worst ball control guy. You recycle into the guy that just flails it somewhere 12, 15 feet back, right? Now, in system that changes because the outside hitter's running a bic. So he's all the way in, he doesn't get set, he lands, he becomes the tight guy. So so you change up your transition offensive preparation based on first ball or transition. So there's a pretty high level of detail about how we're doing this. This all comes around this new craft of the game. So see where Shane is? He's too shallow. Kyle's in a pretty nice spot. Okay, Cooper's in a nice spot. This is pretty good. And he set the ball, so this is pretty good. Pretty good. Shane's just a little tight, and then he gets jammed up. See that? So he's too tight, gets jammed. But still, not too bad. Gives yourself another opportunity to go a little out of rhythm, but works out. So that's perfect. That's what you want. This is inside. Jenrick is a veteran. So he actually starts to come in. But see this, Jeff is a little bit deeper. Eric is in, outside hitter ready to go. So it's pretty cool when you start thinking about this. Mike has set the ball. Typically hitter coverage breaks down over here. The guy that's on the other side, pretend I'm the outside hitter, net's right here. Ball gets set that way. This player's coming in on his approach. As soon as he doesn't get set, what do they typically do? Stand there. Watch the show. I'm not getting set. My guy's going to take care of it. I light those guys up. I mean, I throw them, chucking balls, the whole thing. I love it. You, just like in basketball, if you play basketball, it's your movement away from the ball that matters, right? It's not just what the guy with the ball is doing. What are you doing? What's the defense away from that? Everything's away from the ball, right? Same with volleyball. Ball goes that way. What are you doing? You're coming off. If you can just do this, it's amazing how many balls you save that actually get sometimes blocked into the deep corner, but you can make a move on it. So Kyle right here, look at how he's kind of walking in. Everybody else is prepped. Mike has set the ball, his shoulders are down. All this looks really, really good. I would like Eric to take that, but Jeffrey is a pretty decent ball control middle. But see how he puts it at 8 feet? So that's you gotta stick those situations, right? Now the bic was nice. Look at this, super nice. Gassman, been around for a little while, deep, outside hitter, so this must be on first ball. Let's see here. No, it's middle serving. Wait a minute, what? There's no libero out there, so they're working this one out. So middle serving, Gassman serving. No, he's not. Jenrick serving, thank you. But look at that, good play, setting quick. Really, really good system there. It's really unfortunate. Did you see this play real live when he jump bumped backwards, recycled? Did everybody see this live? Is everyone watching these matches? You just gotta start watching volleyball TV and watch these matches. Now, a few years ago, everybody's always tinkering around. You're starting to see people like France is going up, letting the ball cross their body, and then tipping down the line with their left. I don't know if you've been seeing that. So that you're going to see that, and we're trying to do that a little bit now too. A few years ago, ball goes up, it's a free ball. Most of the time, teams are bumping it in. Ngape starts like waiting for people and then he jumps and whacks it over the net. So instead of giving a free ball, we called it a jump bump. So I was like, that's a smart idea. So we started training it every day at UCLA. So Champ knows how to do this. He actually didn't use it in the normal way, but we would train all these things. The UCLA and the national team train one arm, train kicking, train tomahawk, train jump bump, everything. We train everything every day. 2 to 3 minutes a day are all the high leverage, they call it high leverage plays. Remember when Odell Beckham caught that ball in the end zone backhanded with, turns out he trains that every single day. And there's an article about it and it's called high leverage. So you just spend a little bit of time every day working on the hard play. Every coach says take the ball with 2 hands. No. My daughters, I'm like one hand action, you know, we're kicking the ball, they're terrible. But by the time they're 18, they're gonna be pretty good. So we're teaching kicking, teaching one arm, okay? So Champ, okay, watch when he comes in here. He's literally, first of all, this system is pretty good. We're gonna get to this system in a second. Here's that recycle. This is such a great play. Generous. But Rowan setting quick from 10 feet. Rowan can do that too. So here he is, look, this is a dying ball. He jumps, bumps it, and recycles the ball. And then right to Coop for the bit. Unbelievable play. High ball. Jordan Ewert's really good. That one, if you watched it on TV, he literally turned his hand like this, popped it into the block so that it could come back. So he actually pulled it back so that could be played. Really nice play. He's really good. His recycle game is very, very good. He's been in Europe a couple years. See that? He just literally touched it in the block. Would prefer that touch to be better, but that's pretty good. Hovis was an outside hitter. Look at that. He actually recycled it to himself, okay? So it's a tough play. It's tight to the net. That's the other thing, is you want to set the ball tight in transition. We're now teaching everyone to set the ball tight in trans specifically for this. It's easier to hit a high flat, off the block and out of bounds and get a touch. If it gets a little too tight, you recycle, reset the offense, okay? You got Merrick, who's a little bit deeper. He covers himself and then wipes it. All short game stuff. There's the lefty. Recycle, back, finish. Okay? Okay. Any questions about recycle? Real hard to train, takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of time. Pretty interesting to watch though, just the evolution. Any questions about it at all? I don't know if it's anything you guys are doing, but.
Is there any specific drill that you would suggest to work on that?
Yeah, we would do a continuation drill. We called it, I'm trying to think what we called it. We would try to get, if you could get 3 in a row, you were allowed to swing full. So the trick to this drill is you have to force the blockers to actually block because they'll try to game the system. It's a really good thing to do in the beginning of practice because it's a lot of work. It's a great warm-up drill. So you would have just a continuation drill. You can just throw a ball in. They are setting the ball. If they recycle 1, then they have to go to the other side, recycle 2. You could set it up if you got 2 in a row, then you could play full speed volleyball. Okay? And then you just keep track, play to 5 or something like that. Then you'd be shocked how hard that is, even for these guys. So you're just trying to train that touch. It's better, the guys that have the high elbows can't do this. Skill set's not there. If you've got a high elbow guy, they're only going on top of the ball, they can't do it. These are the guys that are here that can kind of come from here and get under the ball and hit it into the ball. Okay, so there's some technical aspect of training for this. Any other thoughts on that? Yeah.
I had a question for both reception and then also out of system setting, because I know gold medal squared, which historically has influenced kind of USA methodology, I don't know if it does anymore, is pass 10 feet off the net and then set off the net to give more space and high percentage plays.
Yeah.
But then I noticed this in the international game is still wanting tight to challenge the block more in all those situations and reception and attacking. So how does that play in relation to gold medal squared?
Yeah, listen, Mike Wall was my assistant on the national team all the way through 2016, so I'm super familiar with that. You know, like Carl McGowan was the guy that was first espousing the concept of passing the ball off the net, but their target was 5 feet. Okay, so that his concept was you never want to overpass the ball. So you have a certain range of error and you want to move, you just don't want some of that error to be over the net. That's the worst outcome. And so that makes a lot of sense actually. I think maybe it's 3 feet, you know, but you gotta think about training that ball to come off the net. That being said, that changes a little bit. If setters are real big, Stanford with James Shaw. Long Beach this year with Moni.
Nikolov.
Yeah, he passed that thing tight because he's going to go do business, right? He's going to cause a lot of stress. Kavika showed you at Stanford when they won the championship. They had a good opposite, but not a great opposite. They had Eric Shoji and Brad Lawson passing the ball, high-level passers. So they could, and Spencer McLaughlin, so they could pass the ball a little bit tight. Kavika really good offensively, put so much pressure on the area 4 blocker, it just opened up the opposite. Kavika was killing the ball, my guess is high 400s, and then it just made that opposite, who could have been a 200 guy, a 400 guy. So they had this whole system that was designed around their strengths.
So still athlete dependent versus here's our system and try to.
Yeah, I think yes, but I think that one's a little bit more rare. I would pass the ball off the net quite a bit. I mean, I'd say 3 feet. We would put our targets. The targets actually, I like targets for passing. I think having a target there that you can have is usually off the net a little bit. We're pretty specific about that. Targets, I think, for setter training are good, but they're not great because each hitter's different. But for non-setter training, targets are fantastic with specific. We bring it in and bring it in and tight. You just said set the ball tight off. Never. I would never teach that.
Like for, let's say you get a 20-foot pass.
Yeah.
Or the ratio historically that I've noticed is like every 10 feet off is like 1 foot off the net to give them space. Like I guess this is like the pre-jamming era.
Yeah.
Of where I feel like gold medal square was kind of like the main methodology in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But then Brazil was still running tight to the net and
Yeah.
doing all that stuff. France was still doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of curious of how do you unify those two methodologies if gold medal squared is still like a very popular system in the U.S.
It is.
But
And a good system. Listen, there's a lot of organization for coaches that's really good with GMS. I think tight. So I would set the ball tight all the time. Yeah. I can see what you say by the angle. I just think we'll talk a little bit about some of the angles you can create with where you set up your approach. But tight, these days you're wanting to recycle, you're wanting to see the block. It's hard. I do know even some women's coaches are doing this. Spencer McLaughlin was my assistant at UCLA, and then he went to Indiana to coach with Steve Eric. Steve Eric was thinking about that, keep it off the net, and Spencer was like, no tight, no tight, no tight. And finally he was like, okay, let's try that. And I think their transition hitting went up 100 something points in one season.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's working at the women's level too.
So you're recycling drill. So my team is generally pretty small.
Yeah.
Like 8 players.
Oh yeah, it's gonna blow them out.
So it's like, how do you?
Yeah, small group work.
And it's like I don't always have big blockers.
Yeah.
So how do I do that recycle drill with fewer players? I mean, can I get boards up and?
You could, yeah. Actually, we do that. We do that, like little pads.
Yeah. Just
You could actually use the pad, like the pole pads. We've used those before. Listen, this
So
is
you're
this is
saying
also
like
important.
Anything like that is
Yeah.
like, hey, do something like that to simulate it. Okay.
And I would listen. This last year, my daughter's 9. Her teammates are somewhere between 8 and 10, and they were trying to teach them to stay at the net. Like I think they're trying to prepare them for the future. That's fine, except all the balls that came over the net dropped at 4 feet and they're at the net. Like they're not blocking. And I'd be so. I just want to make sure. I think coaching clinics typically are like definitives. I think that's been a criticism of Gold Medal Square. It's just this is the way to do it. I don't think that at all. I think we need to understand what are some applications of the event. How does this help craft pedagogy, but how does this apply appropriately to your level? And I think it's really important we have that conversation, right? And I think we need to be open-minded to multiple solutions and empathetic to your own individual situations, coach. Yeah. All right. BIC. It's always fun. So BIC is about spacing and timing. So what we did early on, this is in our Irvine years, when we first started developing this system with Brian Thornton and Jason Jablonski, David Smith, who obviously was just in the last 4 Olympics. These were the players that were really involved. Thornton's coaching at Oklahoma right now. The critical part of the BIC is the space between the middle and the outside hitter. And then what is the timing? And the way we started to figure out, because the hard part when you're teaching the BIC is that when it's off, nobody knows who's at fault. Was it you? What's going on here? So we realized we needed to cut down on variables. And so we started pushing pause on the slow-mo when the ball was in the setter's hands to judge tempo of the outside hitter. That was number one. You can see Coop's heel is just off the ground, his arms are up as the ball, I didn't quite stop it in time. That's perfect. Guys, perfect time. You see the BIC like this. And actually you can change tempos based on the capacities of your athletes just by defining that. And I'll give you an example. In 2018, when we lost the NCAA finals, we had an outside hitter, Dylan Misery, who was a good arm guy, not huge lift, a little bit lower draw, needed some time to unwind. So we specifically trained him a quarter step slower to give him some time. So he was a little bit more like this versus that. And that's how we trained him to run the BIC. So he would have just a little bit more time to get up and on the ball. So you can change tempos. This is true with the pin. You can judge when the ball is here and the footwork there defines tempos. Okay, that's how you teach tempo offense. Where's the foot? Here. When the ball is there. That's how you play with it. Play with it on video and you teach tempos with feet. The second thing is, how do you make this deceptive? I've heard this a lot. I think it comes from Brazil, but they say off the shoulder, the middle. I would personally never teach that. Because the outside hitter needs to be looking at the setter and the hands for the tempo, not trying to like, where's the middle going? Like, I've heard that a lot. I've never taught that. It's spacing, and you have to be relentless on spacing. 2.5, 3 feet here, 2.5, 3 feet here. And when they're equidistant, then it all lines up visually to be deceptive. Okay, if you get the spacing right, hitters are safe. Okay, sometimes when you have a middle coming from here, America knows this, if you're coming from here, they have a tendency to drift over there, you're going to hear it from you. Because you've got to land and stick if this guy's going to be in the right spot. Now, Mike is a little compromised here. And see how that missed? That missed because Coop was too wide at the end of the day. That's why that missed. It was probably a little tight. See, he's too wide. I can just tell. He's going too wide on this one. Micah sets a ball that's probably right. It's probably a little too tight. And then you have this situation right here. See how he doesn't quite get the ball? That's what the error was on that bit. And that's how you're able to determine what. This is a heck of a play. So they're serving Coop short to try and take him out of the BIC. And it doesn't work because he's such an unbelievable athlete. He's still a little wide. But that's a pretty effective play. It's worth a flex. I think he kind of gave him, it's not big, but it's worth that. It's a nice play. Now there's variance in how you run spacing too. So there's all different types of adjustments we've made over the years on the BIC. That could have been what's called a flare. If you've got a 7-foot middle in front of you and you want to space it out a little bit or whatever, we've designed pushes a little bit. So, and you can actually do this with the middle too. So you can go push, flare. So a little bit further away with the middle, a little bit further away with the outside hitter creates the same vision angle for deception. That one looked a little flare-ish actually, but so I don't know what they call it, but that's possible. Here's just, okay, so this is the other aspect of BIC offense. If the ball gets into this zone, a BIC is based on spacing. But what we've learned over the years is if the ball gets passed to the right and the outside hitter has to try to get around here to get the correct spacing, it doesn't open up enough range. So the audible right here is middle. So in this transition, they probably kind of already have a feel for this, so I'm not sure what he said. But in this situation right here, he's just running a pipe. It's just we call it middle. It comes right down in the middle of the court. And truthfully, this is a perfect pass. If you take a step back, you can still be on big spacing, but 2 steps back, you audible to middle. And if you're ever in rotation 1, if you take 1 step back, you go middle. So there's real nuanced spacing issues that you want to do when you're running big. Now, Coop's new to this, but Italy's a really good blocking team. And he's just on this naked pipe and he decides he's going to hit this low. And that's just not a very effective thing to do against Italy. This is another one. That one, I don't know what happened. Micah got a little compromised. I was actually curious as soon as that happened. See, that's the one where he sets it to. Okay, now this is a 40 behind. This is if you start getting some middles that commit a lot. You want to go around and mix it up a little bit and force the blockers to think about what they're doing. In general, this doesn't work very well if this guy isn't running very fast or if it's a D ball. The area 4 guys sit right on it. I'm not as big a fan of a 40 unless you just have a guy that hits it really well or a weak matchup over here or it's rotation 1, 2, or 3 with a super tempo overhead that pulls this guy out of the way. Other than that, it's just an okay play. This one works okay. That's all you usually get is some seam right there. You don't get a lot of space. This is a nice play by Pastor. Look at that spacing. So now we're cooking. Yeah, Karch is all fired up. He should be. That's the 40. I want you to watch this real quick. So what you're going to see, so the previous tempos and spacings weren't perfect. And so what happened is that it didn't look like it was going to the middle all the time. America's a little slower, so that's part of it. But now you got Jeff, who's up pretty early. This is a nice play because he's going to come around, cut it off, but watch how it looks like it's going to the middle and right to the hand. Okay, it goes right to the hand of the outside hitter. Watch this. Look how far he comes, right to the hand. See how that looks like it's going quick? Now he hits it low out of middle who just hung up and was in the air. But that's nice spacing too. That was a different middle route called a float. So he jumped out of the way intentionally. Nice 5-to-5 float. And of course you can run it inside a gap. When they run it inside a gap, some outsides play it a little tighter to the setter. You can or you can't, it's up to you. This is real nice spacing. See how you could hardly tell where that was going? Jacob runs a nice pick. This is great. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Spacing, ideal. There's another, so they're running a bunch of floats. You can see how the middle was jumping out of the way towards the setter. It's called a float. And here's another one where it's a gap and a little bit more straight up on the pipe, on the bit.
So when you're running a gap, are you running more of that pipe ball instead of the spacing ball?
Yes, they are. I know that's a system we've tinkered around with over the years. These are really, really nice. I mean, this is really nice spacing. So yeah, I don't have feelings about it one way or the other. See, that's a little bit more straight up. His spacing was tighter. Okay, watch this one again, just perfect spacing. Pulls. It's a really effective play. Any questions on Big? No. Happy to do that. So, now this is what we're intentionally doing these days. It's been really effective. If the ball, we call this the L system. I actually stole this from Javier Weber, God, I don't know, 15 years ago. If the ball is in this zone over here, we call this the L. Your outside hitters are taught to bring their approach in and stay wide with the intention of the ball being inside. Just allows for more room for error. This is a little bit of a gray area, which is why he's a little gray, meaning that you have your setter and he's not all the way over here. If this is a non-setters for here, 100%, you're going to see it. Well, hopefully you should. The outside hitters should be standing right in here, but out there they're going to hear it from me. Okay. But here Micah gets around and he puts this thing inside a little bit. See how he's kind of near, he's about a meter from the sideline when he sets that ball? So he's intentionally putting this ball inside, and Cooper goes and it blows by the block. See how he kind of blew by the block? It happens all the time. It's a great system. Nobody can ever figure it out. See where he is? A meter from the sideline. Now, this actually gets to your question about angles, and so he kind of fans out because it's a little bit more of a, this is Champ being pretty creative. He doesn't have much room for an approach, and that ball's coming way over his shoulder, so he doesn't have much time. But he knows it's going to be inside, so he can approach to it. See that? and then he blows right by it. Great play. Champ, non-set or set. Now Coop stays outside, and that's probably right. Like, he's not in the L system here, right? Champ's gonna take this ball. See, he's in the middle of the court. So the outside hitter is not gonna be coming inside. So Coop is running this effectively. But you always want to err inside versus wide. We know that hitting percentages are 350 or whatever, 300, 300, 300, 300, 300. Doesn't change. 300, 300, 300, 150. Like, it just goes off a cliff once you go past the pin. So you never want it to go past the pin. So he errs inside, Coop adjusts, and hits it off the block and out. That is the best, one of the best shots in volleyball right there is on a dime ball. Boom, dime ball. 2-ball, everybody's wondering, look at the looks on their faces, okay? Here they think they have this situation all wrapped up. He's bump setting from way out here, right? We tell him, set a 2-ball. Everybody sees this. Of course, these guys go set up outside. This guy doesn't even bother, like it's a 2-ball. He goes, I'm out. So now you go from a 3-man block to a 2-man block. And then they don't even jump because they think they've won this point. They think they're getting a free ball. But see where Champ was? Champ was inside the court. See where he was? Inside the court. Comes in, boom. 2-ball. Great system. Okay. We'll go fast here. Shank, and see what happens. He's trying to set the ball to the pin. Trouble. Trouble. You do not, he's bumping that thing. It's a 2-ball. 2-ball. Please set a 2-ball. No. Pin. Trouble. Okay? So set 2 balls in those situations. That one was better, but it was just off the net. Gotta set it tight. Champ stays inside. Little off the net, tries to recycle, doesn't quite get it. Obis, he's new. Yeah, tries to go to the pin. Gets a little lucky because that guy made a move on a 3-man block. Cuban blew it. Any questions on that? Questions on the dime ball? Okay. Okay, 3-man blocking. Really, really important at our level. May not be at yours. So if you feel like there's value, the 3-man block battle is critically important at this level. And I would argue at the collegiate level. I know for sure there were championships I've won in my past. And the reason we won is when we were committed to 3-man blocking and the other team wasn't. When you go 3-man, the percentage is even way up on how the system plays. Now the critical aspect, this would be what I would call an absolute for my coaching philosophy. Every coach has something that you're just like, we will do this. Part of the reason Javier Weber and I work so well together, he's the assistant coach on the national team. He's really one of the legendary player in the world and legendary coach. The reason we've worked so well together over the years, I met him when I was at Irvine. He was coaching for a team in Argentina. So we've been friends for a long time. When we actually had a chance to finally work together over the last 4 years, his absolutes were like 100% different than mine. So as we melded these together, we came up with what we called the rules for USA Volleyball. And it was pretty cool document. Now, on my list of absolutes is you will be a perfect 3-man blocking team every single time. Always. No excuses. Shoulder to shoulder. Straight over. No debates. Okay? You're going to see some crappy 3-man blocking. And it bothers me to the point where I started making phone calls to my former, I literally saw it and I literally started making phone calls to my former athletes like, hey, I haven't watched video in 7 months. What are you doing? Okay, so this is so important for me. Right here you can see, this isn't going to be good. Because it's not perfect. It's got to be perfect, sorry. So a little shuffle. So they're kicking out. There are 2 different philosophies in 3-man blocking. I'm pretty firm on mine. A lot of them try to stay inside and then everybody goes big on the approach and then tries to seam, I don't know, they try to like jump together, okay? I don't. I like to shorten approaches. So Jeff, who's played for me for a long time now, 6-7 years, he's kicking over. Jacob's kicking over. Micah's kind of kicking over. Okay, he's kind of kicking over. He's giving a little bit of room. Micah also goes goofy for it sometimes too. Yeah, so there you go. This is the critical aspect. Jacob doesn't do it. You've got to shuffle and cross over. If you just cross over like he's doing right now, you're not going to close. Okay, you got to shuffle and cross over. It's really important technical aspect of this. And right there, you can see it's blown. Okay, see this space right there? And then he's going to have to reach in like this. This is the other critical aspect, is this hand. This hand is never allowed to move under any circumstances. I don't care where the ball is or what you think is going to happen. You never move that hand. You must keep it there the entire time. Okay? But this, we've got to work on. Okay? A one-arm stab, very important. There's a whole other system right there. We go. See, Coop's trying to go. So Coop is trying to go, Jeffrey's not. So see how this is all this is happening before the move to the block. It all messes things up. Mike is kind of getting out of there. Jeff's a little bit late. And that ball dies. So they got a little lucky there. Oh, no, they touched it. Merrick's going. I would tell Coop to get out of there a little bit earlier. Coop likes the big approach. He's a flyer. He likes the big approach. Gabby's a little late. Let's see. He did a little shuffle. Gabby did a little shuffle. But he made a little bit of a move. He did this. That. I'm just so dogmatic about it. Champ, this is why I called him today. I'm like, what are we doing here? See how he kind of ran? That I'm okay with, actually. So watch Champ right here. He's going to be over here. Watch how he kind of turns and runs. Watch. He runs. There he goes. And then he goes up. But see that move? Try. He doesn't quite get there. He's got to get there. This is tough. They got a little lucky there because Kyle didn't close that up. It got a little wonky on the dime ball. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so they stop short. What's the critical aspect here? Jordan Ewart's left hand. He's making all these moves. Don't want to do that. Oh, and Gabby kind of made a move, didn't he? Let's look at Gabby. See how he reached towards the ball? Ball goes out of bounds. Can't do that. Although very important for your right side guys to know how to do this. Rowan's getting out. This looks pretty good. Champ's a little far. You kind of want this left foot to kind of get under the hip here on this one, but he's getting an early start. See that? That's why I called him. This is great. That's pretty good. This is not. That left hand has to be right here, and that shoulder has to be in there, and that's because of that left step. That's a footwork problem. He gets it. That's why I did. I actually called him. I said, I don't care that you blocked the ball. It was not a good block. That's the hard part about blocking. Your guys will be head down, close their eyes, terrible spot, get a stuff, think they've got it all dialed in. Do it right, sometimes you don't get it. Well, a lot of times you don't get a block. That's the hard part about it. Yeah, now this is interesting. So, this is Nolan flexing. By the way, he does something here that always hurts a three-man block. He tries to stick his arm out and touch the other guy. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is mechanically. If you try to feel him, you're done. It's just like, I will not allow it to do. There's something about like, if you're trying to feel where the other guy is, you just can't get your left foot underneath the hip. There's something mechanically about it. If you do this, you can't close. It's weird. I do not have an answer for you. I just know that that's how it works. So he tries to touch the guy like, you don't know where he is? Like, get your hand out of there, cross over, and get that foot underneath the other guy's hip on the way up. So he's a little late, but what he does do is go straight over. He's a big man, okay? So watch how he puts his hand out, trying to figure out where the guy is. Kind of put his hand out there, doesn't get there, but then gets straight over. He's a big dude, so I mean, that's a lot of space. Oh, got a little lucky. He moved his right hand across. He had a little bit of room. See how that's not a great block? The right side guys have a harder time with it. You got to train more. There it is. Not bad. not bad. Coop goes a little aggressive, but he gets the stuff. Coop is maybe one of the best left side blockers I've ever coached in my life. I actually was tempted to bring him to the Olympics last year just for a blocking stuff. He'd never played a point for the national team, and I was like, damn, the best left side blocker in America is a sophomore at UCLA. You know, like, it was real tempting, but the Olympics, you're only allowed 12, so I couldn't do it. So watch Coop. He just is, see, this is good. This is pretty good. That is what you want. He's a little, but see how his left hand is on his left, pretty close to his left shoulder, but you're here, and here. Three Bruins. That's good stuff. Okay, I think that's it. See one more. So that's pretty good. This is what you want all the time. Kind of blew by it a little bit. That's why the dime ball works so well. Okay, I'm just taking a half hour. Do you want to see a highlight clip? Let's go real fast. I won't slow mo this one too much.
Yeah.
You have time. And then we'll dive into questions if you have some questions about USAV or whatever. So I did all this and I saw it and I was like, you know what? They want to see a highlight clip. So this is all highlights. This is just 4 minutes of highlights. Merrick is doing great. Guy can rise up. He's late. I know you want him to go faster. I tried. I swear I tried for 4 years. Merrick always puts it on the 10-foot line. I couldn't get that out of him either, but look at the speed. We need more of that in men's volleyball. Demonstrate how you're blasting people off the head so that people don't call it a girl sport. Merrick is doing great. So you can tell Merrick's a little slow, but he's so high, you can kind of get away with it. Nice outside hand, great hustle. This you'd like to be a little tighter. See how that's tough. You're not going to get anything out of that. But then we take space. See how he took some space on the commit and got it with his left hand. You're going to see him do it again too. Real tough play, but the libero gets in the way of the middle, and then boom, flexing with a real big block. Nice serve. Okay, don't yell at the referees. He's calling for a double. Meanwhile, the guy's hitting. Okay. But thankfully, Dago is there, and he makes a block, which is fairly. So you're seeing this too, where the guys come in and it pulls the middle. It's a great play. It's super complicated. That's another thing that some of the best outside hitters in the world are doing. They're coming in, they're hitting on two or setting. It's blasting jump serves. It's a huge part of the game. Another one. See, he comes inside, dime ball, just gets a little tight, and that's a heck of a play, by the way. Hitting an overpass from that deep is great volleyball play. Eric is so good. Great Vic, great spacing. Nice pass. Another face shot. Perfect. More of them, please. Eric, dime, in the seam, Yahtzee. Eric is just unbelievable. Nice pass, kept his platform in front. Nice tempo, nice line shot. Really nice volleyball play. Nice cross, Eric was behind him, setting quick from 10 feet. Another face. This is great. Everyone wants to see more of that. Rowan serving. Ooh, nice play by Carnegie. See how he jumped? Oh, it's Iran. There it is. They're still doing it. Now this is interesting because they're playing with the dime ball a little bit. So here's the Iran thing I was talking about. I didn't even see how they're coming over here and they're actually landing outside, going 5-5. He just doesn't bring it. But they've been running this dime ball, and see how it blew by him, just opened up some space. So they were doing that this year too to Cooper. Nice recycle. Not a good decision. I mean, that's not a. You don't see that from Iran very much. They're such good volleyball players. You just don't see him wind up and take that credit. He should have recycled that ball. Cool. By the way, this one is funny. Karch, before this play, there's all kinds of different serving philosophies. That's another hour-long conversation. But Karch tells him, basically do a tactical serve, get this one in. And Gassman goes, okay. Gaston's pretty much got one speed. Blast this thing for an ace to win the match. Not tactical. Archer's like, okay, as long as it's in. Oh, funny. Oof. Playing the sidelines. Nice. See how he kind of scooped it, bent his elbows to keep it on the side, little recycle. Jendrick setting the ball tight. Okay, setting the ball tight. And that's a middle. Everybody's got a set. We train non-setter setting, more V, a little bit more space with Jendrick again. We train non-setter setting. I don't think it's an exaggeration that it's every single day. That's another absolute is everybody has to set. And there's Coop doing his thing. Coop is an unbelievable blocker. That's fast. Gabby's best skill. There's Coop. That's typically not Coop's best skill. If he could do that, man, he'd start for us in LA. Big time velocity. Here's Jeff. He's a 5-to-5er. There he's going to 1. Interesting. And then that was for the win. You know what was interesting about this one? This was a spread, meaning the defensive system on this play was to give up the middle. Okay, so I heard about this later too. So this was just Merrick on a defensive system where they were supposed to give up quick, and he just read the play, and this was for the win, and a heck of a move outside the box. I mean, that's a really subtly advanced play for somebody to not be in a defensive system that should allow for that, and then make that happen. Any questions about any of those plays or volleyball related? Any more volley questions? Yeah.
What's your philosophy on middles? I feel like that's like traditionally early 2000s, 2010 is like be up before the middle touches,
Yeah.
and then South America like Brazil and Argentina are running almost like a 1.5, like
Yeah.
Soleil and Lucer
Yeah.
to change direction.
Yeah.
So what's your philosophy on like where middle is trending? I know drifting patterns are trending, but you need time for that. Like it has to be more of a sit one versus like a negative one. So you feel like that's where the middles are going, and maybe that's why Merritt has been doing well because it allows him to reach his peak and change direction. Like David Smith, like if they delay it a little bit.
Yeah. This again is, it is about the individual skill set. Listen, the most effective thing to run is drift routes. The most technically challenging thing to do is run drift routes. So we spent, gosh, what years? So Iran was crushing us on drift routes. This is, I think, a Velasco thing. So Velasco is, I haven't seen it, but I understand he was doing it in Italy years ago when he was coaching Italy. He goes to Iran. They're doing these drift routes. When we were preparing for the World Cup, so we got really good at the World Cup. The World Cup used to be an Olympic qualifier. I'd been to a couple of them. It's a really unique tournament in that it's an Olympic qualifier, but you play 11 matches in 15 days. Like, you got to really think about how you manage bodies and mind in that tournament. And so we came up with a whole system of how to do that, which is why we won the World Cup in 2015. As we were preparing for that, we spent more days on Iran than any other team in the tournament because their drift routes were crushing us. And so we spent 3 or 4 days, because you have a 5-week train block, you got these 11 teams, 2 days here, 1 day here, 3 days, I think we did 3 or 4 days on Iran, and the very first play we botched it. I mean, I spent more time working on that, and Dave Lee, who's our best blocker, guy drifts, boing. Dave's over here with Yahtzee, first play. I was like, well, should have got moved on to Italy, you know, like. And so after that, going into the Tokyo quad, we were like, okay, this is beating us. We need to learn how to do this. Brian Thornton became my assistant. Brian dived in and learned all things drift routes, which he's still doing quite a bit of. He's convinced you should do it with the women too, and he's doing it at Oklahoma. And he did it at Loyola Marymount. I mean, he's done this for a while. He knows more about drift routes than I think anybody. We implemented it. So the interesting thing about the national team is it's a slow-moving ship. You don't get that much training time. They're super advanced, very athletic, very limited training time. And then they disappear for 8 months and go do something different. So as you're trying to navigate systems, you kind of have to do this. If you want to change something, you experiment, see what the numbers are. The next year, you implement, and then you perfect, and then you go win the Olympics. Okay, that's how. It takes 4 years to move this ship if you're going to try a system. You can't do it any other way. So we experimented. The numbers were better across the board. Every single route gets better. The reason is you have to guess twice right. You have to guess who's getting the ball, and then you've got to guess where is the middle. And what it does is it forces every single blocker to get off of the setter in the release and start trying to figure out where the middle is. So it isn't just the middle routes actually stayed about the same. Every other number went way up. So then we decided the next year, I had a whole presentation for the team. You know, everybody doesn't get together until later in the summer because everybody comes back. So I remember we were in Cannes, France. I asked all the guys to come back who hadn't played to be there, and we gave a full presentation. Here's the numbers, experimented, we're implementing it, this is what we're doing. We did it for a year, the numbers continue to go up. The next year, the guys didn't want to do it. Here's the numbers, we don't want to do it. It's so technical that you have to invest so much time to get it right that it's really, it stresses everything else out on your team because you have less time on defense, less time on other things because it demands so much time. So what you've seen is drift routes kind of go up and then they're starting to come back down. And so the other thing is individual strengths and weaknesses of your setters. See, Micah Christensen is the best gap setter in the world by far, and he can set quick from 12 feet. Do you want to invest time on drift routes when you have that in your bag? No. Max is unbelievable on the gap. You got Micah who's doing this. Let's work on defense. You know, so you have to make these choices about how you utilize your time. So what's new in the middles? I don't know. They're still running some flows, so you see it occasionally, some stuff. But in general, you've seen that type of dialogue. So we were listening to athletes and, you know, having some debates and trying to figure out what to do. And Merrick, I've tried for a long time to get his arm going. It's just not there. So he's going to have to figure out how to be real good with his wrist. How does that affect his ability to get the ball from off the net? You know, he's going to have to continue to work on his craft. Yeah.
Can you speak to some maybe evolution of the game for rules? You mentioned earlier.
Oh, rules.
Earlier now they can release on the toss.
Yeah.
I know NCAA has gone to
No doubles.
contacts on
Yeah.
the side. Yeah. Where are we for USA Volleyball with implementing some of those?
Well, we should no doubles for sure. That's a no-brainer for me. I think it's a no-brainer for
Next
anybody.
season already?
I mean, is it going? It should be going. Is it going on here? No doubles? I don't know. If you want me to come talk to a ref sometime during the tournament, let me know. So no, I think you got to get rid. I'd get rid of it all. The next are so no doubles. I know that's being implemented. They're actually talking about doing it on the beach. They're experimenting with the first couple weeks of the Elite 16s and not doing it on the beach. That's not going over as well with the athletes. I saw the survey the first 2 weeks of VNL because they actually did a survey, and it's like 80 to 90% approval of no doubles. The double's done, and so that's great. You need to eliminate subjective judgment from the referees. The next one I think is the overs. Does anybody know if somebody's over or not? I mean, if you can grab it, I think you should go grab it. So what would that cause? Down the road, what would that cause?
Passing off the net.
Exactly. And what would that cause? More digs. So I think you'd end up getting more rallies. That's just, you know, a hypothesis. But I'd like to get rid of that too, because that's the other thing where everybody in the stands is like, I don't know what's going on. Now the other rule that I think we need to have a serious conversation about is serving on the men's side. This is not applicable to the women. The way the game is being played now is much like in baseball where nobody bunts, much like in basketball where nobody's shooting a 15-foot jumper. You have to bomb the ball, period. You do not win unless you bomb. Now there's certainly some nuance there. It's not an absolute, meaning that there are times when you scored 2 in a row, or a guy's a really weak passer and he shanked 3 balls, or you're really fatigued after a long rally, or, you know, there's things. Short serve works on, you know, some ways, or a guy doesn't set the ball really well coming over his shoulder from area 1. Like there are some nuances here, okay? But in general, what we found, and this is really hard for people to grasp, okay, I've had a couple arguments in my life with my father. This is one of them. He cannot understand service errors. And I'm like, Dad, service errors don't matter. I know that's weird. 2 years ago, my last year of coaching, we were at BYU, we had 32 service errors in a match and lost. And I said, you know what your problem is? You're not hitting it hard enough. We need more errors. I promise you, if you go hit the ball harder, and don't worry, you're going to win. And everyone's just like, okay, all right, coach. 35 errors and we won. Doesn't matter. It's weird. So we've got to change, but here's the problem. That's the fact. The problem is your casual fan. Now I've got my CEO hat on. I'm trying to build sport, and I'm trying to build boys and men's volleyball, and it's very different than women. Our television audiences are way down. We had some matches on the Big Ten Network. A women's match gets 200, 250,000 viewers. USC versus Ohio State, 10,000. Not going to do it. So the casual fan is not watching men's volleyball. Why? They're pretty much saying they don't understand the missed serves. And the interesting thing is at the international level, you watch this, their skill level is so high that they can bomb and get it in at a higher rate. You go to universities and you do have 35 errors. We're saying the same thing to these guys, and they're not having 35 errors in the night because they're just better. So you have this university environment which we want to build, and yet the casual fan in the United States, which we don't have pro volleyball, they don't understand that. So the next thing to think about is how are we going to change the rules to consequence or change the impact of serving on the men's side? We have to think creatively about that. So does that mean no more overhand receptions so more guys float? Does that mean that I would like to do that? Does that mean there's fouls like in basketball? We've experimented with that at UCLA the last few years during the fall tournament. That seems to be really effective, by the way. Meaning if you have 5 fouls and you could have a conversation whether it should be 4, you're out. You're done playing volleyball. So I'm telling you, and I can't tell you how many times Andrew Rowan's missed 2 serves in the first set, and all of a sudden I'm pulling him out and putting him in the backup, or he's float serving the rest of the way, and he's all about jump serving. What do you think Rowan does the next few weeks in practice? He's serving extra reps. He's figuring out a way to get that ball in. I think we got to have some consequences for servers. Yeah, that's my little pitch.
Maybe one more, just because you're about 20 minutes
Yeah.
inside your next margin.
Yeah.
Being someplace else.
Yeah, no, thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. Any other questions volleyball related? Actually, I'll take anything, really. I mean, anything you want.
Sit tight with your leg machine tight.
What's that?
Off the net.
What about?
Set it tight.
Set it tight.
Put your leg machine tight, put off the net.
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, 1.5 to 2 feet. Maybe, what is that? That's probably getting too tight, right? So, I don't know. What is that? 2.5?
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. We actually have, so we know exactly what, we have these setting targets, you know, those like lime green ones. I know we want the outside pin. The ideal target is 8 squares in. This is what we do at UCLA. We go to 8, and national team, we go 8 squares in, and then I'd have the edge of the hoop, that's for the inside edge of the hoop. And then the edge of the hoop there would be at 5 feet. Okay, so then you'd have it somewhere between 5 feet and, you know, it's a couple of feet and 2.5 feet, something like that. And that would be our target for non-setter setting, or the L system, how we train the L system. Yeah. Any other volley-related questions?
Okay.
Great.
Are you stressing to your left and right back the fact that you're on the triple block?
Oh, well, it also is a little bit of tendency stuff here, but neutral or stepping just a little bit away from where the ball is, you know, if it's over here, you're stepping a little away. And then the area, say it's a set to area 4 on the other side, the area 5 defender is going to be open.
Stay wide.
Yeah, stay wide and try to be inside that ball.
I'm going to follow up to that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got a massive block at the national level.
Yes.
There's also very athletic athletes hitting that ball.
Mhm.
Why don't we see more tips, center 10, or even inside that 10 line?
Listen, if you start looking at the statistics of some of the best hitters in the world, Lucarelli, Engape, I mean, go down the list. Out of system, 40% tip and roll.
Yeah.
Okay, so the ability to craft the ball, recycle, use the block, throw it into a scene, like all these, the creativity at this level is pretty impressive. And that's what you're seeing right now with some of these younger guys. Ewer, who's played in Europe a couple years longer than, say, Champ and Coop, has a lot more craft than they do right now. You can see Coop has been a physical guy, and so he hasn't learned that stuff yet. You know, he just needs to have bigger blocks in front of him. You saw how he just got stuffed against Cuba? Like, you're like, okay, a couple years from now, you can't be making that swing. You're gonna have to figure out how to do something else besides hit at a big Cuban. Yeah. Okay. You want to talk USAV, boys volleyball? Okay. So we did a town hall. Can you pull that up real fast? I had this deck, and this is how it started. It was, just reimagining. We're reimagining USAV, and certainly how we engage with the boys volleyball community. I'm not gonna show you this whole deck. Sorry if you missed it. So we had this agenda. We went through it. What are our deliverables? What's the overall market landscape? We are 100% committed to boys volleyball. 100%. We will do what it takes to get the boys back under the USAV umbrella. And we're having a lot of conversations about what that will be. I spent a lot of time on this. Obviously, I have a lot of relationships in the boys volleyball community. Talked to a lot of club directors. Obviously, this started in SoCal, right? This was an SCBA initiated issue, okay? And so where do we need to go from here to get them back? It is the adage of never lose a customer because it's hard to get them back is true. We have to do a lot of work and a lot of trust building and a lot of time in order to get everybody back. This is not an easy thing. They're not just going to come back because we've had relationships over the years, but we need to make sure that they have premium experiences and reduce cost barriers. I gave an overview of the sports landscape, the era that we're living in, rapid change. How do we adapt? Like, how is USAV going to be adaptable? It hasn't been, and we got to be faster, and there's reasons for that, and we're tackling those things. What is the U.S. sports landscape? So this is the environment that we're in. It's competitive, it's fragmented. Listen, we have AAU and USAV. We've met with people on the soccer side, 10 different national championships right now in soccer, 10. So we're talking about 2, and we're all trying to figure out how to solve this big problem. Soccer's got a big problem. AAU basketball, big problem. Okay, so it's fragmented. College sports, NIL, the change on the boys' side. What does that look like for men's volleyball? That's a huge carrot for all of our customers, right? It's the educational opportunity. What does that look like going forward? Are we prepared? The answer from our perspective is yes. We're coming up with alternative plans for what men's volleyball will be if it no longer exists in college sports. We have to be prepared for that. We have a plan for that, okay? Hopefully we never have to use it, but you just don't know what's going to happen over the next few years. There is going to be a reckoning very quickly, and we have to understand what that is. Every athletic department is having to find an extra $22 million, and if they're scholarshiping up in some sports, it's another $5 million. There's probably less than 10 athletic departments in America that make money. So where are the others finding the money? Our campus is going to step up. Our donors going to step up. Our alumni going to step up. Are we going to figure out how to better monetize this system? Are you going to reduce staff? I mean, all these things are the conversations that are going on, so it's really unpredictable. NGBs are experiencing a lot of this too. There's fragmentation, a competitive landscape. Everybody has to pay to play here. How do we reduce cost barriers for our families? How do we get more kids to play when they don't? Right now, I think we have a situation where there's all these warehouse conversions to play that cost a lot of money. Mortgages are expensive. We have a space issue in our sport because it's such a great sport to play. More and more people are playing it, but the costs are going up. How do we deal with that? Inconsistencies of development pathways, long-term retention. 70% of American kids migrate out of organized sports by the time they're 13. 70%. Can volleyball find solutions? Can we lead the way? Okay, this obviously is a great moment for our sport. This plays a really big role in our commercial day. Our mission is to reimagine this journey and to make sure that we have positive experiences for everybody that plays, and we impact everybody from youth to adulthood, and we develop a love for the game. Our purpose of intent for USAV is to govern, promote, advance the sport. and support the national teams that compete on the international stage. We have to have a deliberate focus on performance standards and experiences. We want this experience out here to be phenomenal. If we can make it better, we want to know how. We'd love to know your feedback. We have to adopt a one volleyball mentality. It's just not USAV and AAU. There are other parts of this ecosystem. How do we bring all those who share our mission, how do we bring them under one umbrella? How do we all work together? And that means cultivating and manage relationships, internal and external. And then at the end of the day, USAV's role. Listen, you're making a choice about where you're spending your money. You're choosing USAV. And I know 100% your money's going back to volleyball. The money you are choosing to spend, and your parents and your kids, it is going back to the sport. Nobody else can say that because it's not happening. It's going somewhere else. You're making that choice, and we're going to prove that we can continue to reinvest in significantly more ways. This was just an overview of my 90 days. Now it's actually over 200, and this has changed a little bit as I continue to learn and grow in this position. I have epiphanies daily. This has also changed a little bit. This is kind of a red light, yellow light, green light. How are we doing as an organization? Most importantly, know that we're keeping score. Okay, our job is to try and turn these all green, and we understand we're not where we need to be. I mean, the foundation already, foundation has existed since 1984. They put a few $million in it in 1984 after the LA Olympics, and it still has a few $million in it today. So we've already put together a board. It's already, I mean, you can make that green. I mean, we have done a phenomenal job in just 6 months of the foundation. We just gave our first grants last week, had our first foundation board meeting, gave our first grants. We are going to really make a difference in the sport with our foundation and many others. We're an organization in transformation. This is our guiding post for how we're doing that. Right now, we're on number 3 and 4, creating and communicating a vision. I went through a little bit more detail during the town hall about how we're making a difference in retention that I talked about. There's proof of concepts. Norway figured this out. Now they have a 93% retention rate. What lessons can we learn? I'm just going to fly through this. There's 6 areas of focus. Modernize our brand language. How do we tell stories? We've been talking about how come we're not on ESPN? How come nobody knows the name of our national team athletes? How come it's not part of our popular culture? There's reasons for that. It's going to be a significant lift. We've hired Jamie Weston from the NFL to come in and help us understand how to do this better. She has put together a deck on exactly what we need to do as an organization to make this happen. And it's significant in terms of resources in order to make this happen. This doesn't happen accidentally. Caitlin Clark, others, they don't happen accidentally. We're going to have to invest significant resources to get where we want to go as a sport. And we know the national team is the heartbeat that inspires junior engagement. We don't have a pro league. It's not the NBA. It's about our national teams. And we know that we have the stories to tell. They exist. It's just about how we tell them. We know that there's a lot of different areas of our sport that nobody knows about, whether it's Chinese 9-man, obviously the club space you're in. What about grass? And this is just an amazing opportunity to go outside. It's cheap. We have a space issue. Let's get outside on the grass. That's the 6-man. I mean, there's just so much that goes on in our sport that it already exists. We're already an amazing position to build off of. We are a product without a brand. We have had this incredible growth, and yet we still don't have a major corporate partner. Why? So now we need to grow our members. We're shooting for 1 million we're at about 500,000 right now. Can we get to 1 million by 28? I think we can. We don't really offer more in our membership value proposition. What do you get for your membership? Right now you get all the support of a governing body, the rules, the refs, who trains the refs, USAV. You know, like we're doing all these things to make sure the sport is governed ethically. And we support all the different aspects of the ability for kids to go out and play. That's what we do. But what can we do more? How do we do that? How do we grow membership? We don't even offer a parent membership. How great would it be if we had an app, which we will have, you have a parent membership, and the parents get some parent education. I'm sure all of you would love to have a little parent education. So pipe down over there, you know, like something like that, right? So I think we can do that. We can do that. We can get to 1 million. We understand that the clubs enable competitive access and talent visibility. You have a critical aspect in this talent pipeline. And that volleyball offers a lifelong, this could be a lifetime sport. And most sports can't offer that. We need to have better digital experiences, connectivity, how do we engage with our audiences, how do we, again, this commercial space, how do we do a better job? How do we get Maddie and Sunshine in Times Square on the Today Show more frequently, okay? We do not have Ford, Apple, Nike, Yeti. We do have the Mizunos, we do have the Molds, we have the endemic sponsors, we haven't broadened that. Why? There's some really fundamental issues that we have to get through as an organization. We are not there yet. This is really, really important. We have to, in order for us to reinvest, to serve our customers better, to make your experiences better, to make the kids' experiences better, to invest in coaching education, parent education, this connection that you have with the national team. How do we build the stories that help build your businesses? This all starts with resources. The resources right now are minimized. There's a few reasons for this. One of them is we do not have the ability with our data to have sophisticated conversations with commercial partners. We have to change that. And this is all about LA. This is our best opportunity, the Olympics in Los Angeles. This is SoCal. This is why we want to be integrated with SoCal. This is an opportunity for us to use it as a platform. It's not the end game. The end game is how do we use that moment to continue to build into Brisbane. In order to do that, we need more events. We don't really have enough events. We have the VNL event in Chicago. We have the Women in Arlington. How do we build more events? That's the club space and opportunities. It's beach, it's indoor. How do we continue to host high-level events? Because our job is to be the breakout sport at the LA Olympics. And then we want to make a difference. We know the Pink Hat, we know Karch, made a difference in the sport. If you ask somebody, who do you know from the game? It's Karch Karai. Well, Karch played a long time ago. We need some more. We know how these types of individuals impacted sport. Who is it going to be for us? Now let's talk about boys. We got to ensure the love of the game. We got to grow participation through ease of access. We have to reimagine what this volleyball journey can be. And that means premium experiences, really good experiences. We have to expand opportunities through grassroots, and we have to redistribute capital. Okay, so this is getting into, the next few slides are me and all these interviews. I just decided to do it myself, talk to a bunch of club directors all over the place. We have to develop our youngest athletes by fostering aspiration. We have to reimagine 12 and under. Okay, 12 and unders is a huge opportunity for all of us in this room. We have to change the way we play the game for 12 and unders. We can't be playing on a big court with 6 players. We need to think about what they're doing in hockey. They turn it sideways, 2 sheets on one, get all the kids on smaller groups. Soccer, let's play futsal instead. Smaller groups. We have to flip the court sideways. Think about the end line and the 10-foot line. 3s or 4s, super low net. Okay, let's think about other countries in the world are doing this. It's time for us to make some changes. We have to develop our younger teams. We get our asses handed to us at U19 and 21, not that it bothers me. So we got to go win these tournaments. I was coaching youth and junior national teams with Charlie years ago. We would get 9 days of training. Okay, I sat next to a press conference at the World Championships in India, and the German coach was next to me. He said, "How long have you been training?" I said, 9 days. He said, 9 days? I said, "Yeah, how about you?" He goes, "Well, we put our whole U19 team in the Pro League. They got 60 matches over 8 months." I can't do this. Cannot do this anymore. So we have to look at our schedule. I know I talked about that, created quite a bit of consternation among club directors about changing the calendar. My bad. Highest level of competition informs developmental pedagogy. We talked about that already. What are we learning from the highest levels of the game? And how should that impact how you train? And then connect to the national team and build a one volleyball movement. Primary concerns from club directors. Club communication, consistency of experience, coaching, teaching standards, a platform for communication. Stay and play came up a lot, right? Stay and play came up a lot. Yeah, it's a tough one too. I actually did a survey of a bunch of club directors, and it's about 50-50. Like 50% of them are like have a visceral negative response to stay and play. Like they just, and then the other 50% of them are like, we get it. That's how you get convention centers. You can't sign convention centers unless you can guarantee hotel rooms. We understand. So there's just like, I don't know. I mean, I've got some long-term thoughts on this, but it's kind of a reality for us right now. And I know that AAU has this Orlando thing. I don't know, it's a tough one. It's a really, really tough one. We keep talking about it. Cost, customer service, tournament registration, it's easier to go to AAU in there. We gotta make this much more simple for USAV. We have to simplify. Listen, safe sports is important. We gotta protect the kids. We're not getting away from that. We're gonna protect our kids. But we have to make the systems more simple for all of us to be a part of. Ease of access, common sense venues, right? You want to go to places where you want to be. Expand event sanctioning, better manage the calendar, meaningful rank. We're going to put together a ranking system and experiment with it this year. Qualifying system where we use the ranking system, and then bids at bid tournaments and a ranking system, so that's a little bit more fair. The experiment is, can you get the amount of data necessary to make an educated decision? Do you have enough matches where you cross over with all the teams around the country? We don't know until we do, and so we're going to put that together. You got to build out what's called a neutral platform. This isn't not my lane, but you build what's called a neutral platform. So we're investing into this neutral platform, and then you dump all the IP stuff. It all dumps into one place from all the different companies in the tournament management space. So we're working on that. All these other things are concepts and ideas. So this is what we kind of proposed. I had all these ideas, and then I put together a small working group. And I said, here's what I want to do. I want to change the calendar. I want to do this. I want to do that. And they said, whoa, time out. Too much. Which is good. I'd rather come in with too much than too little. And so the club directors that are playing, there's like different groups of them. So I was having conversations with all these different groups. But we had a small working group, and they said, listen, let's just do one. Let's get under the roof together one time. Let's build this relationship. And so that's what we decided to do. I wanted to see about a first serve with in the fall, and it then morphed into a beach six-man. We have an opportunity here to recreate what we want for boys volleyball. This process I know has been hard, and I know it's been tough on USAV. It's been tough on boys. It sucks. So we're going to solve it. Okay, so we're going to go step by step. We're going to keep having conversations. Communication is going to be good. We want your feedback. We want to know what we need to do to make this better. It takes time and trust and execution. USA Volleyball systems are not simple. We need to simplify. We know these things. We're working on it. Okay, so that's where we are with boys volleyball. That's the presentation I gave that end of March, I think it was. And I don't know if you have any follow-up thoughts, questions, comments about USAV and the boys game. Brent.
We would love to move everyone to cocktail hour.
Oh, really?
We're about 40 minutes over.
We're 40 minutes over?
Yes, but it's good. It's good. So
Anybody, listen, you want to go have a few beers and talk about boys volleyball in USA?
On John Speraw's dime.
On USAV's dime. Go crazy.
Yay.
Go crazy. If you have any, listen, let's chat about it. Let's go get some drinks. Love to hear your comments. Thanks for being here. Always love talking about it. This is really, really enjoyable for me personally because there's 4 UCLA guys on the floor at this moment right here. So this is, you got Cooper Robinson, who actually hasn't graduated. He actually is leaving early to go play professionally in Japan next year for Javier Weber in Hiroshima. He still had a year of eligibility, and he has already become the go-to guy on Team USA for the young guys this summer. He's been playing great. Ethan Champlin, who played the last year in Germany, played for me and graduated 2 years ago. Micah Maha, who graduated in 2019, he's really had a nice career. He's going to Russia next year, but he worked his way up. He was in France, and then to Poland, and then to Turkey on a Champions League team, and now he's on his way to Russia. And then you have Merrick McHenry. So these are all, I'm really close to all of them. Obviously, Eric Shoji, I've had the pleasure of coaching for 12 years during his career. He came in and made his entrance onto the national team in 2012 when I made my entrance as the head coach. So a lot of history there with Eric. So all these guys, a lot of really good relationships. And Gabby Garcia is at opposite. Karch has been going through a lot of different players in VNL, and this is a unique opportunity for USA Volleyball in that we are already qualified for the Olympic Games. And we know we have the #1 seed. So we have the latitude to play a bunch of young guys, not worry about the world ranking, They reformatted the world ranking. Two things. One, it's very fluid. So you have to bring your A game every night or you can drop pretty quickly. Second, it also factors into traditional Olympic qualification. So it's really important to be focused in every match. And here we can roll a bunch of young guys out. And at times it definitely looks like it. So, but it is fun for us to see. This is against Italy, which was last week in Chicago. And Italy is bringing some guys that have some high-level experience, including number 5, Mickey Aletto, who's probably, you make an argument he's the best player in the world right now. 6'11", lefty, outside hitter. And he grew up playing libero because he all of a sudden grew like huge number of inches later. He grew up playing libero and then grew a bunch of inches and ended up to be one of the best attackers in the world.